Okay, so what are we going to do here today? I made this very simple little quiz app. We're just going to walk through the code and how I did it. I shouldn't say it's simple. I mean, this isn't really senior developer channel, so it's not simple if you've never done it before. So shouldn't say it that way. So it covers a lot of basics, a lot of important stuff for learning web development. So let's look at the app. What's going on here? We got your current correct answer is 1. You're picking 0 or 1, right? This is determined. Well, I'll show you in the code, but this is going to change. The correct answer will change and it's randomly picked. And you get to pick. If you click the right one, it tells you your. Alright, so the current correct answer is 0. So can you pick the right one? 0. Yay, you got it right. So it doesn't. There's no indication of that, but it picked a new number. It turns out it was 0 again, and I'll show you in the code that it does that. But if you pick the wrong one, it tells you you're not very smart. Okay, so pretty simple, really. But you know, like I said, there's some stuff in the code. It's not that simple. It's straightforward, but it's not simple. So anyway, the bottom line is it picks an answer. You have to pick the right answer. It tells you whether you picked the right one or not. So let's get to the code. Here's what I did here. Let's go right from the beginning. So all this is just header stuff, head stuff, little bit of styling. Yes, I know the styling is supposed to be in a different spot. I'm just making it simple for the sake of this. It's just put it in the center and give it a little margin, right? So we don't need to even really. Let's close that up. Okay. So then here's the answer div, right? Here's the new question. You never actually see that because it immediately gets written over by the JavaScript here. It's that's this div. The current correct answer is this. And then the paragraph, can you pick the right one? A div with the 2 buttons, and a div with the empty div with the result. That's probably what I should have just done here. Just made this an empty div, the answer div, and the result div. But because you never actually see this text anyway. These 2 divs are actually filled by JavaScript. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean here. So then we get down into the script tag, and again, I know the script's supposed to be in a separate file, but for the sake of doing this, I just kept it all in one place. So declared some variables here at the beginning. The default answer to start with is 0. This whole section here is just setting up so you don't have to write document.get or element or query selector or whatever a million times. You're just setting the true button, the false button, setting up the divs, right? So that we can add event listeners to them and stuff without having to write all of this stuff. Okay. Then I've got a couple functions here. What's this first function? Okay. Show the current answer. And what does that do? It says answer div, which is answer div. Okay, so that's the one I said before where I was talking about, I shouldn't have even, that's this, the current correct answer, the answer div. So it's saying, okay, take the answer div and the inner text and say the current correct answer is, and you can see that, the current correct answer is 1. So how does it know it's 1? So let's put this on its own line. Alright, so what's this $sign stuff? You know what this is? This is a backtick, not a regular quote here, right? So that's ES6 template string, right? So when you want to do, instead of concatenating strings with the plus sign, put them in the backticks, and you want to do JavaScript in the middle of it, you just put this annotation here. This, I don't know why VS Code wants to put this on its own line like that, but it does. And it's probably going to change it back in a minute after I hit save again, but I think it's easier to read like this. So So here's the opening backtick, closing backtick. It's just a string, but you can throw JavaScript in the middle of it by putting the $sign curly bracket. So I put a little ternary operator in here. The answer, right, is equal to 0. If it is 0, no, I'm phrasing that wrong. If the answer is equal to 0, then return the string 0. If it's not, then it's going to return 1. Right, so where's it getting that from, right? To start with, the very first time through, it's 0 because we told it to be 0 right here, so it's going to be 0. Later on, it's going to change, and we'll get to that. So we'll have to come back to show you what that's about. So function, the next function is get a new answer. Okay, so this is where we're going to change this, referring to this answer, right? Getting a new answer. And so how are we getting a new answer? We're saying the answer is going to be equal to this math.floor math random times 2, right? So what this is saying is, all right, so let's back it up. Math.random picks a random number between 0 and 1, so a decimal, right? And the floor rounds it. We did it times 2 because that makes it, basically this times 2 and then rounding it makes it either be a 0 or a 1, right? And then, so we set this answer variable out here, that's out in this scope, to either a new random 0 or 1. And then we're calling the function show current answer, which is this one, right? So whenever we're getting a new answer, we're also showing the current answer. So let's think about that. When we're getting a new answer, we're showing the current answer. So it picks a new answer, 0 or 1, and then redoes this string with the new answer in it, okay? Show the current answer. Okay, so, all right, so this is all set up, declaring variables, declaring a function, then it's filing. Well, all right, so you tell me, what's the parentheses mean, right? When you see the parentheses, what does that mean? What does that tell you? It tells you that we're actually calling the function, right? So here we're just declaring the function. You declare a function, doesn't mean anything. Nothing happens until you call the function. You know the function is being called when you actually see these. You see the function name followed by the parentheses, right? So declare a bunch of stuff, finally run something. Run show current answer. And that's what we were just talking about this whole thing. It picks a new answer and displays it, right? Or I should say, actually, the first time through here, it's just doing this. It's saying 0 is the new answer. The correct new answer is 0. Okay. Okay. Then, so what's the rest of this? We've got the button div, which we talked about over here, has those two buttons in the yes and no button, or I mean the 0 and 1 button. And we're adding an event listener, a click event. We're looking for a click. So whenever somebody clicks on that div, we're going to run this callback function, right? Which takes an event. If the event.target.value is equal to the answer, you got it right. Or else you're not very smart. So let's talk about that a little bit. Why is it? So check what I did here. I got one event listener, but it listens to both buttons at the same time. How does it do that, right? Because the 0 and the 1 button are both inside of one div. So you set the listener, I'll show you. They're in this div, the button div, right? So you set the listener on the whole div, right? And whenever you have an event, like a click event, there's information that is created about what happened with that click. Like, where was it on the page? What did you actually click on? And that's really what we're getting. The event.target is what inside that div did you actually click on. So you're saying over here, event.target. So that's how it knows whether you clicked the 0 button or the 1 button, because you're saying you're taking the event and you're saying the event.target. So it knows which one you're talking about. And what's the value of it? It's either 0 or 1, right? And if that happens to be equal to the current answer, which changes, remember we talked about the answer changing with randomly over here. If it happens to be equal to whatever the current answer value of answer is, you're going to take the result div.innerText and change it to you got it right. Or if that did not was not true, then take that result div.innerText and say you're not very smart. When this if statement is done, we're still inside what happens when you click, right? We're still inside this callback function. Somebody clicks and this all happens. It says check this, display this answer, otherwise display this answer, and then get a new answer. This is run the get new answer function, which, as you may recall, when you call the get new answer function, it picks a random 1 or 2 and displays it up here. So let's take a look at that. We click one of them. It tells you whether you were right or not, and it changes this to a new number. Well, we can show you that it's focus on this for a minute. Whoops. Focus just on this. It's saying it's changing the answer. Yes, you got it right or you got it wrong. But it's also, now take a look at this every time. Sometimes, since it's only 0 or 1, sometimes it's going to be the same thing. So it changes both of them. It tells you whether they got the right answer, or it's changing the current value of answer to be 0 or 1 randomly. And that's really it, right? So you learned a couple things in here about having the one listener on 2 things. That's called event delegation. I did a whole video about that the other day. We talked about a couple of the math object functions, the random and the floor. The floor does the rounding, the random picks random numbers. We talked about ternary operator right here. Very quickly, we talked about that. Let's talk about that a little more. You say, you do an expression here, right? And if it's true, you do the first thing, and then you do the colon, and if it's not true, you do the second thing that comes after the colon. Pretty straightforward, I think. I think that's I could probably do this if else over here the same way. I don't know why I did them differently. Just more than one way to do it. A lot of things in programming, right? We talked about template strings, ES6 template strings, using the backtick, and then you can do JavaScript in the middle of it by putting in this $sign bracket notation. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully this is helpful. Like I said, it's simple, but if you've never done it before, it's not simple. So don't listen to these people who I see these articles sometimes about when you every time you build a to-do app, a puppy dies, and they try to make you feel bad for creating a to-do app. Nonsense. If you haven't done it before, you need to learn how to do it, and it's a great exercise. Don't listen to these people. They don't have your best interest in mind. Once you've done these a few times, then sure, do something more complicated. But there's value in doing these kind of small projects and figuring it out on your own without doing a tutorial to tell you how to do it. Okay, so just start out simple. Like, in other words, just say, well, what's the first thing I want to do? I know I want to have a little simple quiz. Well, I need an answer. Or I need a question, and then I need the way to pick. So you put that on the page. You don't even need JavaScript for that. It can just be HTML. Just pick one little thing at a time and just do it. So there's a lot of value in this. Don't let the haters tell you any different. All right, people. I think that should do it for this time. Thanks.